Independent, free from outside control, not subject to another's authority, not depending on another for livelihood or subsistence. This is the Independent of Circumstance series that I'm going to share with you guys over the next few days. Hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe and like. Let's discuss joy independent of circumstance. If you understand that word independent as I described it in the beginning, means that you are free from outside control or free from the influence of a situation. You are supposed to be, as a man, the rock and the foundation and the tree that stands there, and you have basically the wind coming all over, water crashing against you, all these things happening to you, but you remain immovable, steadfast, strong, powerful, and that's what the world is attracted to. Understand independent. Because if you can become independent of circumstance in your joy, in your attitude, in your work ethic, in your productivity, in all these other things that I'm going to mention over the next few days, wow, you've made it. So I want you to understand, first of all, joy independent of circumstance, being happy independent of circumstance. How do you get to that point? How can you manage to be happy despite what's happening outside of you? It's because whatever happens to you is not as important as whatever happens inside of you. And most importantly, inside here. Because when something happens, whether it's good, positive, neutral, doesn't matter, you get to choose what your attitude and your belief is about that thing. Something bad happens, whose choice is it to believe that it's something bad? No matter how bad it is, no matter what other people say about how bad it is, you get to decide whether it's a bad thing or whether it's a good thing, at least temporarily. But the more you become aligned with what the universe feels is good and the universe feels is bad, you will quickly come to the understanding of all of those bad things that are happening, or all of those bad things that are consequences of, bad behavior or not understanding the rules of the universe and not understanding what's going on. All of those things are good things. If you begin to change and turn around and begin to only do good things and increase your capacity to do good things. Karma is always going to be a thing. It's the law of the universe. Whatever you send out is going to be multiplied to you tenfold, hundredfold, 1,000-fold. Okay? Probably dependent upon the attitude with which you do it with. So if you have a fantastic attitude, you're filled with love, you're filled with, joy, and you want to help other people, it's going to be massively beneficial to you over the long term. So going back to the concept of joy independent of circumstance, if bad things are happening, but you in your brain understand that that's a good thing, that allows you to have an attitude independent of circumstance, and that's what's going to create joy independent of circumstance. You can also say gratitude independent of circumstance. You connect those two. Gratitude, attitude, well, I guess it's pretty much the same thing, right? Where everything is good. Everything, right? There are just some things that are way more positive than others, and then some things that are a little bit positive. I'll give you an example. So my wife is in my son's room, and she just needed to pick up a water bottle from his desk, and then as she walked out of there, I saw a juice bottle on the table, and it had a little bit of juice on it. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be great to drink it, in my mind. As she began to move away from the desk to get out of the room, the juice tipped over, and it fell on the floor and splashed everywhere, right? Since I have the opportunity of having joy and attitude independent of circumstance, this is what I'm thinking. Fantastic, great. Let me clean it up and let's find a way to make this a positive thing. Was it a negative thing? You could find a lot of negative things with it. and you could start blaming and you could start this and that and the other. Oh my gosh. But instead, one, I can clean it up and create a good deed for my wife so that she can get out and be able to, go for her walk as she wanted to. Secondly, it also allows me to do a good deed for my son so that, he doesn't have to clean it up. Obviously, it wasn't him who did it, but do you understand what I mean? This is how I turn this into a positive experience. I wanted to drink the juice. Who cares? The glass didn't even split up in pieces. That's a fantastic thing, right? You find different ways of making everything positive. You have no idea how much more energy you're going to derive from life if you manage to turn everything negative into something positive. Because once you've done that, everything's okay. Suddenly you don't have to be drained. Negative energy drains. Have you noticed when you're around negative people, it drains you? Because you begin to think and you're like, oh, you have to organize this and you have to solve the problem, whatever it is, when something is negative. But if something is positive, it doesn't necessarily have to change. Why do you have to change something that's positive? If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? But it's also, if it is an extra positive thing, that's actually something to be happy about. And that happiness actually produces energy, produces like life. It produces, joy. Yeah. This is what is called the happiness advantage. So very few people have it. So when you actually learn to adapt this into your life, everything changes. If you choose to work on this for just a few months and get really good at having a positive attitude, independent of circumstance, do you understand the compound return on that investment of learning to have a fantastic attitude at all times, long term? Do you understand that people who actually live the longest are those that have the best attitudes? It's crazy how that works. If you have a negative attitude, you die sooner. You die faster. And the choice is up to you. You can actually choose to have a positive attitude. Depression, sure, is a thing. Okay. Can it be changed over time? Yes. Do you have to be in the same circumstance forever? No. And will you be able at some point to get this attitude independent of circumstance that I'm talking about? Absolutely. If you try, right? It's like someone saying, oh, I'll never be able to build a business. Well, are you ever going to try building a business? No. Well, then of course you're never going to be able to build a business, right? Someone who says, I will until, when it comes to business, will build a business, and a pretty successful one at that. Same thing with an attitude independent of circumstance, joy independent of circumstance, gratitude independent of circumstance. Turn every negative thing into a positive thing. Your life will change. You'll get tons of energy from it, and you'll be able to blast past everyone who's competing against you. There's no chance. No one does this. Learn it. Learn it once. Your life quality will be amazing for the rest of your life. You're not going to be perfect at it, but guess what? That's a perfect thing, because then you don't have to be hoity-toity when it comes to other people, because they're not able to have an attitude independent of circumstance, of you feeling that you're so much better than other people. You'll never get to that point, and guess what? That's fantastic, because you're better able now to relate to people. Do you see how all of this works? It's amazing. Be positive, be fired up. Let's get going in building our businesses. I'll see you guys in the next one.